Hi everyone, you're watching the Graphing Quadratic Function Notes video. The good news about this notes video is that you have already graphed quadratic functions before. So this unit is going to have a lot of review and a lot of calculator tricks that you've already learned. So let's dive right in. Example number 1 wants us to graph this function f of x. So we are going to graph on our calculator x squared minus 2x minus 8. And when we do that, you are going to see a beautiful quadratic u function. If you want to look down below, we can change that to maybe like -10 so we can see the bottom. We can see that turning point right there. When we aren't graphing over a domain, it's always nice to put the vertex in the middle of the table. So let's get some points right from our graph. I'm going to use a trace function. You could also use a table, but I am going to use a trace function. So the first thing, we will go to menu, trace step, change that to 1, and then we will actually go back, menu, trace, graph trace. And I'm going to start with my vertex, which is, oh, look at how that shows right up on your calculator. Did you see that? It says minimum. So this is the point, 1, -9. So we're going to put that right in the middle of the table. And then we will get the rest of the points on either side. So 0, -8, -1, -5, -2, 0, and then -3, 7. We're just trying to get a bunch of points to cover the whole graph. Now, before I even go to my graph on the calculator, you will probably notice a pattern with the x's, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And some of you might say, wait, you can't even do that with the y's, but you actually can, because this vertex is kind of like the divider between a nice, pretty rainbow pattern of these numbers. So it's symmetrical. So let's just do a quick little test. Oh, 2, -8, there it is. So it matches up right above and below. 3, -5, 4, 0, and 5, 7. I love that this happens because when I start graphing these, which we're going to do right now, so 1, -9, and then 0, -8, and then also 2, -8, I kind of plot them at the same point so I can make sure that my y values are level. -1 is -5, and the same thing over on this side here, and then so on and so forth. So we are going to look for -2, 0, and 4, 0, oops, 4, 0, and 5, 7, and also -3, 7. We're going to connect our parabola to extend over the whole graph, making a nice pretty U, and we will put arrows on the ends because it didn't tell us to restrict any domains, it just said to graph it. So arrows on the ends, and we will label it f of x. Now on the flip side, we have another example down below where it does say to graph over the domain. So let's control doc, add another graph page, and we are going to graph -x squared plus 3x plus 40. This is going to be an upside down quadratic function. The reason why I know this is because I have an x squared and it's negative. So you might not see it so easily right now, but let's use the cues on our graph and clues to let us know that we have to go up to around 50, and there she is. Okay, now, a couple of things here. We need to graph over the domain from 0 to 8. That means our x values will start at 0 and end at 8. So we will not put any arrows on. We are only going to graph between those two x values. Now let's do the menu trace step and change this to 1. And just a reminder, if I'm doing this on my calculator, you're doing this with me too to get the practice. Menu, trace, graph trace. And this starts, fortunately for us, at 0, 40. So I'm just going to plot this point in there, 0, 40, and then 142. And let's keep going, but wait a minute. Our vertex here, our maximum, happens to fall at a decimal value. So we are most definitely going to include that because the vertex is arguably one of the most important points on the parabola. Okay, so I'm going to box it in and star it. So we know that that's the vertex. That will let us know that the pattern, like the 42s now, will pair up. And then my guess is it's going to be 340, right? Yep, and then 436, 530, 622, 712, and then 80. We just needed one more. Okay, so 040, let's plot all these. 142, now this is where we need to be careful. This is 1.5, so that's right here, 1.5, and then it goes up to 42 and some change. So like right there, then 242, we're going back down the parabola again, 436, 5, wait, what did I do here? 340 should be right up here, 436, 530, 622, 712, and 80. We will connect these points with a curve, and then we will label this G of X.